Captain Do-hyun Kim floated through the massive space hangar, pushing off from one pile of alien junk to the next. Earth's orbit had become a dumping ground for the Galactic Confederation's trash. They called it technological aid. Do-hyun called it what it was: garbage. "Captain Kim, Admiral Han wants to see you in 10 minutes, said a voice in his helmet. "Tell him I'll be there," Do-hyun replied. He paused to examine a twisted piece of metal. Unlike Earth metals, this one had a strange purple sheen when the light hit it just right. Do-hyun had once been the pride of the Korean Navy. That was before first contact 10 years ago in 2147, before humans learned they were the weakest, newest members of a vast galactic community, before his ideas were laughed at by the aliens who now ruled humanity's future. The donation yard, as they officially called this orbital junkyard, was where careers came to die. Do-hyun pushed the piece of purple metal into his collection bag. No one would miss it. Admiral Han's office had a view of Earth that still took Do-hyun's breath away. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the lights of cities on the night side. It was the same view that had made him join the Navy 20 years ago. "You're late, Captain," Admiral Han said without looking up from his screen. "Sorry, sir. Lost track of time." Do-hyun straightened his back out of habit. Admiral Han was old-school military, from before the aliens came. His office walls had medals and photos from Earth's forgotten wars. Now those conflicts seemed so small. "The Budget Committee has made its decision," Han said, finally looking up. His face was tired. "They're cutting the donation yard staff by half." Do-hyun felt his stomach drop. "Sir, we're already shorthanded. It gets worse. The Confederation is doubling their donations. More junk is coming, and we'll have fewer people to sort it." Han stood up and walked to the window. "The Confederation thinks they're helping us. They don't understand that giving a caveman a broken computer doesn't teach him technology." Do-hyun thought about the purple metal in his bag. "Sir, maybe we're looking at this wrong." Han raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "The aliens think they're giving us useless parts, but I found things out there." Do-hyun hesitated. His ideas had been shot down before. Components that could still work if used differently. "Go on." "I think we could build something from these scraps, something the Confederation wouldn't expect." Han's tired face broke into a small smile. "Like what?" "A ship, sir. A warship unlike anything they've seen." Han laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "With what engineers? What facilities? What budget? I only need a small team. People I choose. And a quiet corner of the yard where no one will bother us." The Admiral stared at Do-hyun for a long moment. "This sounds like the kind of talk that got you sent to the yard in the first place." Do-hyun didn't flinch. "Yes, sir. It is." Han turned back to the window. "I remember when we sent our first ships to Mars. The whole world watched in wonder. Now we beg for scraps from beings who see us as barely more than smart animals." He turned back to Do-hyun. "You have 3 months. Show me something worth continuing, or I shut it down. Choose your team carefully." Do-hyun bowed slightly. "Thank you, sir." As he left the office, Do-hyun felt a spark he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Gia Park had never fit in. Not at Seoul National University, where her theories on energy conversion made her professors uncomfortable. Not at the Global Space Agency, where alien observers politely dismissed her work as creative but fundamentally misguided. Now she worked alone in a small lab in the donation yard, testing alien materials that no one else cared about. When the door to her lab opened, she didn't look up. "Whatever it is, leave it by the door." "Dr. Park, I'm Captain Do-hyun Kim." Gia glanced up, annoyed. A man in a standard yard uniform stood watching her. "Captain, how can I help you?" "I've read your papers on energy conversion." Gia put down her tools. No one read her papers anymore. "And I think you're right. The aliens are wrong." Gia studied his face, looking for the joke. "That's a dangerous opinion, Captain." Do-hyun stepped forward. Look at this. He pulled the purple metal from his bag. Jie's eyes widened. Is that Regarian hull material? Where did you get it? The scrapyard. The Confederation thinks it's useless because it was damaged in some battle. But I've collected almost 50 pieces this size. Jia took the metal carefully. Do you know what this is? The energy absorption properties alone are decades beyond our technology. I know, and it's just sitting out there, thrown away. Do-hyun leaned in. What if we gathered more? A lot more. What if we built something with it? Jia laughed. Like what? Some new satellites. The aliens would just pat us on the head for being clever with their trash. No, a ship. A warship. Jia's laughter stopped. That's forbidden. The membership treaty specifically states that humans can't build warships with technology beyond our current level. Do-hyun finished. But we wouldn't be using their technology. We'd be using scrap metal they've discarded. Our own designs. Jia put the metal down. Do you know what would happen if the Confederation found out? They won't. Not until we're ready. Do-hyun pulled up a screen and opened a file. I have Admiral Han's approval. A small team. A hidden section of the yard. 3 months to prove it's possible. Jia stared at the authorization. Why me? Because you see things differently. You question what the aliens tell us is possible. Jia was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. Who else is on this team? I'm still building it. I need the best. Jia pointed to her screen. There's someone you should meet. Taiwan Lee was not where he was supposed to be. Again. He had been assigned to catalog incoming scrap from the latest Confederation donation. Instead, he was in an abandoned service tunnel, connecting his personal device to the yard systems. Unauthorized access detected. A computerized voice said from his device. Taiwan smiled. Override. Code sequence Lee 7734. Override accepted. At 25, Taiwan was the youngest programmer in the yard. He was also the best, which was why he hadn't been fired despite his habit of breaking rules. The aliens didn't understand human computer systems, and humans didn't understand alien ones. Taiwan was the rare exception who could work with both. Accessing Confederation database, his device announced. Download the latest ship designs, Taiwan instructed. This was highly illegal, but he was careful. The aliens wouldn't notice. The door to the service tunnel slid open. Taiwan jumped, quickly closing his program. Taiwan Lee, a man in a captain's uniform, stood in the doorway. I'm authorized to be here. Taiwan lied smoothly. System maintenance. The captain smiled slightly. In a closed section. Accessing Confederation databases. Taiwan's stomach dropped. I don't know what you mean. A woman stepped from behind the captain. It's okay. We're not here to report you. Taiwan recognized her. Dr. Park. What's going on? The captain extended his hand. I'm Captain Do-hyun Kim. I'm putting together a team for a special project. Dr. Park suggested you might be interested. What kind of project? The kind that could change humanity's place in the galaxy. The kind that breaks some rules. Taiwan looked from Do-hyun to Jia and back. I'm listening. The team grew. Su Min Kang was a materials specialist who could identify alien metals by touch and smell. Jin Ho Yoon had been a tactical officer before losing his wife and daughter when the economy collapsed after first contact. Do-hyun brought them to a forgotten corner of the donation yard, a massive hangar that had been damaged years ago and never fully repaired. Perfect for privacy. This is where we'll build it, Do-hyun told them, gesturing to the empty space. Our ship. With what? Jin Ho asked, his voice skeptical. We have no parts, no plans. Do-hyun smiled. We have the greatest resource of all. The Confederation's garbage. Over the next weeks, they worked in secret. Each team member brought parts from their sections of the yard. pieces the aliens thought were broken or obsolete. Jia discovered that the power systems they found could be modified using her theories. Taiwan created a hybrid control system that combined human and alien code in ways neither would expect. Su-min found ways to meld the strange metals together. 1 month in, they had a frame. 2 months in, they had systems starting to connect. The ship was taking shape, ugly, patched together from different alien technologies never meant to work together, but somehow it worked. Admiral Han visited once. He walked around the growing ship in silence. "Well?" Du-hyun asked finally. Han touched the purple hull material. "They gave us scraps because they thought we couldn't do better. They were wrong." He looked at Du-hyun. "You have your 3 months, and more if you need it." As Han left, the team gathered around their creation. "It needs a name," Jia said. Du-hyun studied the strange ship taking shape before them. Built from cast-offs, rising from humanity's lowest point. "Phoenix," he said. "We'll call it Phoenix." 3 months turned into 4. 4 months turned into 6. The Phoenix took shape in its hidden corner of the donation yard. What had begun as a pile of scrap was now clearly a ship, though unlike any ship human or alien had ever built. "It's ugly," Jin-ho said one day, standing back to look at their creation. The Phoenix's hull was a patchwork of different metals, the purple Rigarian material mixed with blue-tinted Zolian plates and the golden sheen of Earth titanium. "Beauty isn't the point," Su-min replied, running her hand along a scene where she had joined 2 completely different alien metals. "Function is." Do-hyun watched his team work with pride. They had become more than colleagues. They were a family now, bound by their secret project. Even Admiral Han visited weekly, bringing supplies and information from Earth. But they were running out of time. "The Confederation is sending an inspection team," Admiral Han announced during one of his visits. "They want to assess how we're using their generous donations." The team gathered around a small table in what had become their break room, really just a corner of the hangar with some chairs and a coffee maker. "When?" Du-hyun asked. 3 days. They'll check the entire yard." Han looked around at the now obvious ship taking shape. "This needs to be hidden." Jia shook her head. "We can't move it now. The power systems are too delicate." "Then we hide it in plain sight," Taiwan suggested. All eyes turned to him. "We make it look like what they expect to see. A pile of junk." For the next 3 days, they worked to disguise their ship. They covered the sleek sections with dented panels. They disconnected external systems and scattered the parts around to look like they were still sorting through them. Taiwan even programmed some lights to flicker, as if they were testing faulty components. When the inspection team arrived, Du-hyun was ready. He stood with Admiral Han as 3 aliens entered their section of the yard. The leader was a tall, thin being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. "I am Inspector Krex of the Confederation Aid Commission," he announced, his universal translator making his voice sound flat and mechanical. "We are here to ensure the donations are being properly utilized." "Welcome, Inspector," Admiral Han said with a stiff bow. "We are grateful for the Confederation's generosity." Krex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, well, let us see what you've done with our gifts." As they walked through the hangar, Du-hyun felt sweat forming on his back. Krex's 2 assistants scanned everything with small devices, taking readings and making notes. "What is this area?" Krex asked when they reached the disguised Phoenix. "This is our assessment section," Du-hyun explained. "We sort components here to determine what might still be useful for our learning." Krex walked closer to the ship, his large eyes narrowing. "This looks like the beginnings of a structure." Du-hyun's heart raced. "Just a testing frame. We're learning how different materials might connect." Krex reached out with one long arm and touched the disguised hull. For a moment, Du-hyun thought they were discovered. Then Krex pulled back. "Interesting attempt," he said, his voice carrying a note of amusement. "Though the joining techniques are quite primitive." Su-min, who was standing nearby, tightened her jaw, but said nothing. The metal joints he was mocking were actually a breakthrough that even Confederation engineers hadn't thought possible. "We do our best with what we have," Admiral Han said diplomatically. Krex turned to his assistants. "Make note, the humans are attempting to learn metallurgy. Perhaps next century they might approach level 3 technology." The assistants made clicking sounds that their translators didn't catch. Du Hyun realized they were laughing. "Tell me," Krex said, turning back to Han and Du Hyun. "Have you found the power cells useful? We included quite a few in the last donation." "Very educational," Du Hyun answered carefully, though most were depleted. "Of course," Krex said, "providing fully charged cells would be too advanced for your current needs." What Krex didn't know was that Jia had already figured out how to recharge those cells using a method the aliens had never considered. The Phoenix now had enough power to reach Mars and back. The inspection continued for hours. Eventually, Krex seemed satisfied. "You are making progress," he said, sounding surprised. "For clever pets, you humans are quite resourceful." Do Hyun felt anger rise in his chest, but kept his face neutral. Admiral Han's hand on his shoulder tightened in warning. "We appreciate your assessment," Han said smoothly. "Will there be more donations soon?" "Oh yes," Krex replied. "A large shipment next month. The Confederation's First Fleet recently upgraded their weapons systems. The old ones will be included." Do Hyun and Han exchanged a quick glance. Weapons systems, even outdated ones, were exactly what they needed. "That is most generous," Han said with another bow. As the inspection team left, Krex paused at the door. "One more thing," he said. "We've detected some unusual power fluctuations in this section of the yard. You should check your systems." After they were gone, the team gathered again. "He suspects something," Jin-Ho said, his military instincts on alert. "Maybe," Du Hyun agreed. But they saw what they expected to see: humans playing with scraps. Jia wasn't listening. "Did you hear what he said? Weapons systems are coming." Taiwan was already at his screen. "I'm checking the Confederation upgrade schedule. If they're replacing the First Fleet's weapons, we're getting level 7 technology. It's outdated for them. But it's far beyond anything humans are supposed to have," Du Hyun finished. "This is our chance." The weapons arrived as promised. Massive crates of what the Confederation considered junk. Targeting systems with minor flaws. Power couplings with slight cracks. Defense shields that weren't quite up to Confederation standards. To the Phoenix team, they were treasures. Working through day and night shifts, they integrated the weapons into their ship. Jia found ways to bypass the built-in limitations. Taiwan hacked the security protocols. Su-Min created new mountings for the odd-shaped components. The targeting system is online, Jin-Ho announced one day, 2 months after the inspection. As a former tactical officer, he had taken charge of the weapons. "Show me," Du Hyun said. Jin-Ho brought up a display. It flickered, then stabilized, showing a tactical view of Earth orbit. Every piece of space debris was marked with precise measurements. "Accuracy?" Du Hyun asked. "Within 1 meter at a range of 10,000 kilometers, Jin-Ho replied with pride. "Better than anything Earth has ever built." "Defense systems." Du Hyun turned to Jia. "The shields are at 60% of Confederation standard," she reported. "Not perfect, but enough to withstand most attacks. And I found something interesting." She brought up her own display, showing energy readings. "These shield generators were discarded because they have an unstable frequency." "That's bad, right?" Du Hyun asked. Jia smiled. "It would be for the Confederation. They like steady, predictable systems, but the fluctuations actually make the shield harder to target. An enemy would have trouble finding the exact frequency to penetrate it." One by one, the systems came online. Propulsion, life support, communications, weapons, defenses, each one built from what the Confederation had thrown away, each one modified by human ingenuity. 6 months after the inspection, Admiral Han called a meeting. "The situation has changed," he said gravely. "There have been attacks on our outer system outposts." "Attacks? By whom?" Du-hyun asked. "A species called the Voraks," Han explained. "They operate outside Confederation law. Pirates, essentially. 3 research stations in the Jupiter moons have been raided. 27 dead, 42 missing." "What is the Confederation doing?" Su-min asked. Han's face darkened. "They've sent 2 patrol ships. They say it's proportional assistance appropriate to our development level." "They're letting us die," Jin-ho said bluntly. "How close is the Phoenix to being ready?" Han asked, turning to Du-hyun. Du-hyun looked at his team. They had planned for months more work, testing each system carefully before even considering a launch. "We haven't done full integration tests," Jia warned. "The power systems could fail." "The navigation is still glitchy," Taiwan added. "We might not be able to find our way home." "The weapons work," Jin-ho said simply. "I've tested them against simulated targets." Admiral Han nodded slowly. "I'm not ordering this. I'm asking, can the Phoenix fly?" Do-hyun took a deep breath. "Give us 1 more week. Then, yes, the Phoenix will fly." Outside their hidden hangar, the donation yard continued its normal operations. Inside, the final preparations for humanity's secret warship accelerated. The Phoenix was about to rise. Launch day arrived faster than anyone wanted. The Phoenix sat in the center of the hangar, no longer disguised as junk. Now it looked like what it was, a warship built from 100 different technologies. Its hull gleamed with patches of purple, blue, and gold. The weapon systems jutted out at odd angles, but each one was perfectly aligned for maximum coverage. "Final checks," Du-hyun ordered as the team rushed around the ship. Jia monitored the power systems, her face lit by the glow of her screens. Power at 92% and holding steady. Navigation systems online. Ta-1 reported from inside the ship. His voice came through the comm system. "I've loaded the coordinates for Jupiter's moons." "Weapons hot and ready," Jin-ho added, his hands moving across the tactical console. "All targeting systems calibrated." Su-min walked the perimeter of the ship one last time, scanning every joint and seam. "Hull integrity at acceptable levels," she said finally. "She'll hold together." Admiral Han stood back, watching. This was no longer his mission. It belonged to these 5 people who had done the impossible. "Captain Kim," he said formally. "Permission to launch granted." Do-hyun nodded. "Thank you, sir." He turned to his team. "Let's go." They boarded the Phoenix through an airlock salvaged from 3 different alien designs. Inside, the ship was cramped but functional. They had built only what they needed: a bridge, an engine room, living quarters, and a small medical bay. Every system was jerry-rigged, every panel a mix of human and alien technology. "Sealing airlock," Su-min announced, securing the door. "Engines starting," Juk called out. The ship hummed beneath their feet. "Yard doors opening." Admiral Han's voice came through the comm. Outside, the massive doors of their hidden hangar slid apart, revealing the blackness of space. "This is it," Du-hyun said, looking at his crew. "Once we launch, there's no turning back. The Confederation will know what we've built." Jin-ho smiled grimly. "Good. Let them see what humans can do." Do-hyun took the captain's chair, which had once been part of a Confederation shuttle. "Ta-1, take us out." Slow and steady. The Phoenix rose from its birthplace, hovering on thrusters cobbled together from mining equipment. Then it moved forward, passing through the hangar doors into open space. "We're clear," Ta-1 reported. "Setting course for Jupiter." "Engage main engines," Du-hyun ordered. Jia pressed a sequence of controls. The ship shuddered, then surged forward. The stars outside the viewports blurred. "Speed?" Du-hyun asked. Jia checked her readings. Faster than expected. We'll reach Jupiter in 6 hours. That was impossible by human standards. Even the fastest Earth ships took days. The Phoenix was already exceeding their expectations. Any Confederation ships in the area? Du-hyun asked. Jin-ho scanned the space around them. None detected nearby. But there's increased comm traffic. I think we've been noticed. Admiral Han will delay them as long as he can, Du-hyun said. For now, we stay on course. 4 hours into their journey, the first challenge appeared. A Confederation patrol ship moved to intercept them, its sleek form a stark contrast to the Phoenix's patchwork appearance. They're hailing us, Jin-ho reported. On screen, Du-hyun ordered. The main display flickered, then showed a familiar face, Inspector Krex. His blue skin looked paler than before, his 4 arms moving in agitation. Unidentified vessel, Krex said, his translator making his voice sound angry. You are operating an illegal craft with prohibited technology. Power down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Do-hyun stood, facing the screen. This is Captain Do-hyun Kim of the Earth ship Phoenix. We are responding to attacks on our outposts. Kim. Krex's large eyes widened in recognition. The human from the donation yard. What have you done? We've built a ship, using what you gave us. Krex's skin darkened, a sign of anger. That is not possible. Those were non-functional components. To you, maybe, Du-hyun replied. We saw different possibilities. You will stop this vessel immediately, Krex demanded. The use of Level 7 technology by humans is forbidden by Confederation law. We didn't use your technology, Jia said, stepping into view. We created our own from what you discarded. There's no law against that. Krex seemed at a loss for words. Finally, he spoke again. The Vorax situation is being handled by proper Confederation forces. Return to Earth. Our people are dying, Du-hyun said simply. We're going to help. You will only interfere with our operations, Krex insisted. Your primitive vessel isn't so primitive, Jin-ho interrupted, his tactical screen showing detailed scans of Krex's ship. Our sensors can see your shield frequencies, your weapon outputs, even the microfracture in your port engine housing. Krex froze, clearly shocked that a human ship could scan his vessel so thoroughly. We're continuing to Jupiter, Du-hyun said firmly. You can follow if you want, but we're not turning back. He motioned to Ta-1, who cut the communication. He'll report us, Su-min said. Let him, Du-hyun replied. By the time the Confederation decides what to do, we'll reach the attack sites. He's not following, Jin-ho reported, checking the sensors. He's continuing on his patrol route. He thinks we're no threat to the Vorax, Jia said with a small smile. He still underestimates us. Do-hyun nodded. That's our advantage. The Phoenix reached Jupiter's orbital space right on schedule. The massive gas giant filled their viewports, its swirling storms a backdrop to the smaller moons where human outposts had been built. Scanner mode, Du-hyun ordered. Jin-ho activated the Phoenix's main sensor array, a combination of 3 different alien technologies that, when used together, could see things none of them could detect alone. Scanning Europa Research Station, Jin-ho reported. The screen showed the moon's icy surface and the remains of a human outpost. Heavy damage. No life signs. Ganymede outpost, Du-hyun asked. Still intact. I'm reading 12 human life signs. But there's something else. Jin-ho adjusted the sensors. Ships, hiding in Saturn's rings. Show me. The screen shifted to show Saturn, its beautiful rings now revealing something hidden. A fleet of ships, dark and predatory in design. Vorax, Du-hyun asked. Matches the description, Jin-ho confirmed. I count 17 vessels, much larger force than reported. Why would pirates need so many ships to raid research stations? Su-min wondered. Because they're not just pirates, Jia realized, studying the energy readings. This is an invasion force. Do Hyun's blood ran cold. They're using the raids as cover to bring in a fleet. The Confederation patrols haven't detected them, Tadwan said. Their sensors can't penetrate the ring particles like ours can. We need to warn Earth, Do Hyun decided. Communications are being jammed. Tadwan reported after trying. I can't get a signal through. The Voraks must have jammers in place, Jin Ho said. Standard tactic before a major attack. Do Hyun faced a choice. They could try to break through the jamming and warn Earth, or they could act now, with the element of surprise on their side. Any Vorak ships near the Ganymede outpost? He asked. Jin Ho checked the sensors. 2 ships, smaller vessels, likely scout class. Can we take them? Jin Ho studied his tactical display. In theory, yes. Our weapons should be superior, but we've never been in actual combat. First time for everything, Do Hyun said. Plot an intercept course. We're going to protect that outpost. As the Phoenix changed direction, heading toward Ganymede, Jia approached Do Hyun. The power systems aren't fully tested, she reminded him. If we engage the weapons at full capacity, I can't guarantee stability. Do what you can, Do Hyun told her. We'll work with what we have. Just like they always had. The Vorak scouts didn't detect the Phoenix until it was almost upon them. The human ship's strange configuration confused their sensors, making it appear as space debris until it was too late. They're powering weapons, Jin Ho reported as they closed in. Shields up, Do Hyun ordered. The Phoenix's shields activated, a shimmering field of energy that fluctuated in unpredictable patterns. Another flaw that had become an advantage. They're firing, Jin Ho called out. Energy beams lanced from the Vorak ships toward the Phoenix. The shields flared but held. Shields at 82%, Jia reported. Better than expected. Return fire, Do Hyun ordered. Target their engines. Jin Ho's hands flew across his console. The Phoenix's weapons, a mix of 5 different alien designs, came to life. Beams of energy, pulses of plasma, and streams of particles shot toward the Vorak ships. The first volley caught them by surprise. One Vorak scout spun out of control, its engine housing ruptured. The second tried to evade, but the Phoenix's targeting system predicted its move. Direct hit, Jin Ho announced. Both vessels disabled. The bridge crew exchanged looks of amazement. Their ship, their impossible ship built from garbage, had just defeated 2 enemy vessels without taking significant damage. The Ganymede outpost is hailing us, Taiwan reported. Put them through, Do Hyun said. A woman's face appeared on screen, her expression a mix of fear and hope. Unknown vessel, this is Dr. Min Kang, Ganymede Research Station. Are you human? Do Hyun nodded. We are, Captain Do Hyun Kim of the Phoenix. We're here to help. Dr. Kang's eyes widened. That ship, it doesn't look like any Earth vessel I've ever seen. It's new, Do Hyun said simply. We need to evacuate your station. There's a much larger Vorax force hiding in Saturn's rings. We believe they're planning a major attack. As Dr. Kang absorbed this information, Jin Ho called out from his station. Captain, 3 more Vorax ships just broke from Saturn's rings. They're heading this way at high speed. The Phoenix's first real battle was about to begin. 3 Vorax warships approaching, Jin Ho announced, his voice steady despite the danger. They're bigger than the scouts. Destroyer class. Do Hyun made a quick decision. Ta-1, position us between them and the Ganymede station. Jia, how much power can you give to the shields? I can push them to 110%, but not for long, Jia replied, her fingers dancing across her control panel. Maybe 10 minutes before the system overheats. Do it, Do Hyun ordered. Then he turned to Dr. Kang, still on the view screen. Doctor, get your people to your transport ship. We'll cover your escape. Dr. Kang nodded. We need 15 minutes to launch. You'll have them, Do Hyun promised. though he wasn't sure how. The Phoenix moved into position as the Ganymede station scrambled to evacuate. The three Vorax ships approached rapidly, their dark, angular forms growing larger on the view screen. "They're hailing us," Tai-1 said, surprised. On screen, Du-hyun ordered. The face that appeared was nothing like the Confederation aliens. The Vorax had rough, gray skin and multiple yellow eyes arranged in a circle around a mouth full of sharp teeth. "Human vessel," the Vorax commander said, its translator making the words sound like gravel being crushed. "You have attacked our scouts. This is a declaration of war. You attacked our research stations first." Du-hyun replied calmly. "We are defending our people." The Vorax made a harsh sound. "Your weak species entered our territory when you joined the Confederation. Now you will pay the price." The screen went dark. "They're powering weapons," Jin-ho warned. "Evasive maneuvers," Du-hyun ordered. "Prepare to return fire." The Phoenix turned with surprising agility for its patchwork construction, just as the Vorax ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space, most missing the nimble Earth ship. One struck a glancing blow against the shields. "Shields holding at 94%, Jia reported. "Target their weapons arrays," Du-hyun commanded. "Fire when ready." Jin-ho locked onto the lead Vorax ship and fired. The Phoenix's weapons released a strange combination of energies, the result of 5 different alien weapon systems working together in ways never intended. The beam that struck the Vorax ship was unlike anything they had ever faced. It pierced their shields at one frequency, then changed to another as it passed through, confusing the defensive systems. "Direct hit," Jin-ho called out. "Their forward weapons are offline." The other 2 Vorax ships split up, trying to flank the Phoenix. Du-hyun had expected this. Tai-1, execute pattern alpha. The Phoenix shot upward relative to the plane of attack, then spun on its axis, bringing its weapons to bear on both enemy ships simultaneously. Jin-ho fired again, this time hitting both targets. "One ship's engines damaged," he reported. "The other is still fully operational." The battle continued, with the Phoenix dancing between enemy fire while launching its own attacks. The ship performed beyond expectations, its hybrid systems creating combat capabilities that neither human nor alien engineers had imagined possible. 8 minutes into the fight, Ja called out a warning. "Shield generators overheating. 3 minutes until failure." At the same time, Tai-1 reported, "The station transport is launching." Do-hyun saw his chance. All power to forward weapons. Target the undamaged Vorax ship. The Phoenix's lights dimmed as power was redirected. Jin-ho aimed carefully, then fired. The blast that erupted from the Phoenix was so powerful it created a visible ripple in space. It struck the Vorax ship dead center, cutting through its shields like they weren't there. The enemy vessel split apart, its core rupturing in a bright flash. "Got him," Jin-ho shouted. But the celebration was short-lived. The 2 damaged Vorax ships, though hurt, were still fighting. They concentrated their fire on the Phoenix, whose shields were now failing. "Shields at 40%, 30%. Jia called out as each hit landed. "We can't take much more of this." "The station transport is clear," Tai-1 reported. "They're heading for Earth." "Then so are we," Du-hyun decided. "Get us out of here. Maximum speed." The Phoenix turned away from the battle, its engines flaring. The 2 damaged Vorax ships pursued, but their injuries slowed them. Soon, the Earth ship had left them behind. "We did it," Su-min said, disbelief in her voice. "We actually won a space battle." "Not yet," Du-hyun replied grimly. "We've only seen the vanguard. The main Vorax fleet is still out there. And now they know we can fight. We need to get back to Earth and warn everyone." The return journey was tense. Jia and Su-min worked frantically to repair damaged systems. The shield generators had burned out completely and would need to be replaced. One of the weapon arrays was offline. The hull had suffered minor breaches in 3 places. But the Phoenix flew on, carrying its crew and its warning back to Earth. As they approached Earth orbit, they received a transmission. Admiral Hand's face appeared on screen, looking both worried and proud. Phoenix, this is Earth Command. Report status. Admiral, Do-hyun responded. We have confirmed a Vorac's invasion fleet hiding in Saturn's rings. At least 14 warships remaining. We engaged and destroyed 1 destroyer and disabled 4 others. The Ganymede Station survivors are en route to Earth. Hand's face grew serious. You were right about the invasion. Our long-range sensors have detected multiple ships leaving Saturn's orbit. They'll reach Earth in 48 hours. He paused. The Confederation has been informed. They're sending ships, but they won't arrive for 4 days. Too late, Jin Ho muttered. We'll have to hold them off ourselves, Han continued. I've ordered all Earth Defense Forces to ready positions. The Phoenix is to dock immediately for repairs. Yes, sir, Do-hyun replied. As they approached the orbital docks, they saw another ship already there, a sleek, perfect Confederation vessel. Inspector Krex was waiting for them. The Phoenix docked next to the Confederation ship, looking like a child's homemade toy beside a professional product. As the crew disembarked, they were met by Admiral Han and Inspector Krex, along with a squad of Earth security officers. Captain Kim, Krex said, his blue skin dark with anger. You have violated multiple Confederation laws. The use of restricted technology. Save human lives, Admiral Han interrupted. And discovered an invasion fleet your patrols missed. That is irrelevant, Krex insisted. The Phoenix must be impounded, and its crew detained pending investigation. No, came a new voice. Everyone turned to see a human woman in an Earth government uniform approaching. That won't be happening, Inspector. Director Moon, Admiral Han said, snapping to attention. The Phoenix and its crew are now under direct Earth government protection. Director Moon stated, any action against them will be considered an act of aggression against Earth. Krex's 4 arms moved in agitation. This is highly irregular. The Confederation Council can address their concerns after we deal with the Vorac's. Director Moon cut him off. Right now, we need every ship we can get, including yours, Inspector. For a moment, it seemed Krex would continue to object. Then reports began coming in from the outer system. The Vorac's fleet had accelerated. They would reach Earth in 24 hours, not 48. Very well, Krex said finally. But this matter is not closed. As the inspector left, Director Moon turned to Do-hyun and his crew. We need the Phoenix ready to fight again. Can you do it? Do-hyun looked at his team. They were exhausted, but determined. Give us 12 hours. The work to repair the Phoenix was a blur. Earth technicians marveled at the ship's construction, at the ingenuity that had gone into creating something so complex from discarded parts. Parts were scavenged from Earth's own limited supplies. Some components were even taken from Krex's ship, with grudging Confederation permission. News of the Phoenix spread across Earth. The ship built from alien scrap that had defeated Vorac's warships, a symbol of human resourcefulness and determination. People gathered at viewports to see it as it was repaired, this ugly, beautiful creation that represented hope. 23 hours after docking, the Phoenix was ready, not fully repaired, but functional. Its shields were at 70% capacity, its weapons at 85%. It would have to be enough. The Vorac's fleet appeared on long-range sensors, approaching Earth. 14 warships, just as Do-hyun had reported. Earth had 6 defense vessels, plus the Phoenix and Krex's Confederation ship. The odds were not good. All ships, take formation. Admiral Han ordered from Earth Command. Phoenix, you're our heavy hitter. Target the lead Vorac ship when they come in range. Understood. Do-hyun acknowledged from the Phoenix bridge. His crew was at their stations, ready for the fight of their lives. The Vorac's fleet entered Earth orbit. Their ships were huge, dwarfing the human defenders. The battle began immediately, with energy weapons lighting up the blackness of space. The Phoenix moved with unexpected speed, its patchwork engines pushing it harder than should have been possible. It fired on the Vorax flagship, its strange hybrid weapons confusing the enemy defenses just as they had before. For a time, it seemed the defenders might hold. The Phoenix disabled 2 Vorax ships. Krex's vessel, more advanced than anything humans had, destroyed another. Earth's small fleet fought valiantly. But there were too many. One by one, Earth's ships were damaged or destroyed. Krex's vessel lost its engines and drifted out of the fight. Only the Phoenix remained fully operational, though its shields were failing again. "We can't win this," Jinho said, as the view screen showed 5 Vorax ships still advancing. Do-hyun looked at Jia. "What if we channel everything into weapons, all power, including life support? One massive strike." Jia's eyes widened. It might work, but the ship couldn't handle it. The power systems would overload. "But we could take them with us," Do-hyun said. The bridge was silent as everyone understood what he was suggesting. "I'll stay to guide the ship," Do-hyun said. "The rest of you, get to the escape pods." "No," Jia said firmly. "I built the power systems. I'll stay." "We all stay," Jinho added. The others nodded. Do-hyun looked at his crew, his friends, and felt a surge of pride. "All right. Together then. Jia, give us everything you've got." Jinho, target the center of their formation. As they prepared for their final attack, new signals appeared on their sensors. Ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. A lot of ships. "The Confederation fleet," Ta-1 said in amazement. "They're early." The newcomers immediately engaged the Vorax, their advanced weapons tearing through the enemy ships. The Vorax, caught between the Confederation fleet and the Phoenix, broke formation and tried to escape. "They're running," Sumin said in disbelief. "Not all of them," Jinho reported. 3 ships still on attack vector. "Then we stick to the plan," Do-hyun decided. "Jia, now." The Phoenix surged forward, all its power redirected to its weapons. The ship began to shake, panels falling and systems shorting out as it pushed beyond its limits. It fired one massive blast that cut through all 3 remaining Vorax ships, destroying them instantly. Then the Phoenix went dark, its power systems completely burned out. They had won. 1 week later, the crew of the Phoenix stood in the Confederation Council chamber. Their ship had been recovered and was being studied by both human and alien engineers. The Vorax threat had been eliminated, their invasion force destroyed. Inspector Krex approached the humans, his manner formal, but with new respect in his large eyes. "The Confederation Council has reviewed the events at Earth," he announced. "Your actions, while unorthodox, saved many lives, both human and Confederation." He turned to Do-hyun. "Captain Kim, the Council has decided to reclassify humans from developing species to innovation partners. This is unprecedented for a species of your technological level." Do-hyun nodded, accepting the new status for what it was. Respect, finally earned. "The Council is also interested in the Phoenix's design," Krex continued. "Your methods of combining technologies. We have not seen this approach before." "We saw possibilities where you saw trash," Jia said simply. Krex made a gesture of acknowledgement. "Indeed. The Confederation has much to learn from humans, it seems." As they left the chamber, Do-hyun looked at his team. "What now?" he asked. Admiral Han, who had accompanied them, smiled. Now we build more ships, but not from scraps this time. The Confederation has agreed to a proper technology exchange." "I'll miss the Phoenix," Sumin said softly. "Don't worry," Do-hyun told her. "They're repairing it. Our ugly, impossible ship will fly again." Together, they looked out at the stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but a frontier they had earned the right to explore. They had been given scrap metal. They had built the galaxy's deadliest warship, and they had changed humanity's future forever.